Hey, pro organizers, it's Melissa. And somehow, inexplicably, we have reached the end of 2024. It has been a little bit of a roller coaster, at least for me, and I think for a lot of other people. But I can tell you that I am super excited and energized for 2025. And I have so many plans and so many things that we are going to do. But to wrap up 2024, I have been saving this interview. I've had it for a while, but I wanted to save it because it is just the absolute perfect way to end 2024. Tina and Nancy are going to tell you about their partnership, which has such a unique and amazing beginning. And they are also going to give you a reminder of why we do what we do, and on top of that all, give you some really solid business advice. They have great ideas and great things that you can think about as you are making your 2025 plans. I am thrilled to end the year introducing you to Tina and Nancy from Uncluttered Spaces. How are you? Welcome to the podcast.
We are good. Thank you for having us. Yes, we're happy to be here. Yeah.
Yeah.
We enjoyed you so much at the organizing summit.
Oh, at the How To Summit. Thank you so much.
Yes, the House
Oh,
Summit. You were great. Your information was great. So we
thank you.
appreciate you. Yeah.
You can tell I'm super passionate about those subjects. And one of the biggest things is I know that there are a lot of people that listen to the podcast that weren't at the summit. By the way, come next year because it's great. But I'm so passionate about people having the foundation of their business set. And a lot of times we try to go to college before we've gone to kindergarten. And so I was hoping that it connected with people. So I'm glad it did.
Yes, it did. It did with us and our team. So it was great.
Good. Cool. How many people did you have at the summit?
It was 5 of us. So we had
Oh,
3
that's awesome.
team members come.
Oh, I
So,
love that.
right. I wish we could have brought them all, but we
Yeah.
couldn't. So
Tell me a little bit about you, your business, where you are, all of the things.
Oh, it's a long story.
That's
go
okay.
ahead, you start.
I got time.
Start. Okay. So we started our business 13 years ago. So it's been a long time. 2011 is
Mhm.
when we started. So going on 14 years.
That was
And
kind of before it was really a thing.
it was
Mhm.
way before it was a thing.
Mhm.
And Nancy and I have been friends since we were 12 years old, and we sat next to each other in Mr. O'Neill's English class in 7th grade.
7th grade.
True story. We met first day
Aw.
of school, looked at each other. I like your hair in that braid. I like what let's be friends. So cute. And we formed this friendship that
Mhm.
has been ever since. We'll tell our age. We're 55 years old today, but our friendship spans childhood, adolescence, motherhood,
Marriage.
and the highs and the lows in those things.
Mhm.
Life is not all roses. And Nancy and I have,
Mhm.
through our lifespan, have been through deaths, divorce, breast cancer, you name it, we've seen it all. Our kids being born, one of my kids having it diagnosed with a chronic illness. We have been there for each
Mhm.
other through everything. And with that comes this special trust and bond that I wish every woman has, not only in business, we know we're really lucky, but
Mhm.
also in friendships. We meet so many people, our female clients especially, who say, I wish I had a Tina, or I wish I had a Nancy,
Mhm.
and I don't have that. So that's aha moments for us because we're in the day-to-day grind where we look at each other and we just give each other like a little smile, like, wow,
Mhm.
we are so blessed to
Mhm.
have this really special
We do a lot of
connection.
private high-fiving.
Yeah,
love
we do. We have a power pose, and this is our power pose, and everybody knows it in our company. That works for us. Like all of our
Mhm.
team members, we're like, when something good happens, whether it's small or big, we always
Mhm.
just
High five.
connect and give our power pose. So our friendship goes really far back, and how our business started was we were both in this odd timeline of our lives where our kids were no longer super little, they were just starting school. And Nancy and I have been both in the service industry, in the hospitality industry, in sales industry. We have this huge background, and we're like, what do we love to do? And we spend every day together, and you can only be a gym rat for so long.
For so long.
That was a very short time for us. We're like,
There's so much you can do in your own
this
house
is just
until you're circling it.
and this is stupid, meaning there's so much more out there for us to get. We're smart women, we're go-getters, we love money in our pocket. And
Mhm.
what are we really good at? And we combined all of those things. And we were doing a little bit of house cleaning at the time. and I hated it. Nancy was like, "This is great. We get to be together and we're just like, we talk all day and we whip through these houses." And I was looking at the houses, we're looking, I'm like, this house could be so much better. Like, this could be styled better. And we started doing that for people. And Nancy and I were really good at it together because one of our superpowers is that we can talk without speaking. We can look each other in the eye or give a subtle glance, and we know what the other one is thinking and what the next step is. So we're always on the same
It works great with
page.
clients because when when the client is sick of you and
Yeah.
you're like, all right, it's your turn. Like you could just look at each other and be like, switch,
Yeah.
switch.
I
switch.
love that. It's like the twin telepathy kind of thing or whatever.
Yeah,
It's great.
yeah. And then so it was 2011, and I was like, our New Year's resolution, and we both have entrepreneurial spirit. I grew up in an entrepreneurial family.
Me
Nancy did
too.
as well. And I'm like, let's start our own company. Let's be professional organizers. We had to Google, what is a professional organizer? And we each put in $500. That was our capital. And we went on LegalZoom and made up an LLC, Uncluttered Spaces.
Used every family member we could that owns a sign company, a printing company, was a
Website.
photographer. So we took advantage of all that and it did us good. It started us.
It started, got us on the map. And then our first big job was, it's the craziest story. It was a warehouse. But it was like 4 warehouses just filled with pallets to the ceiling. It was insane. And this company brought us in and we had to sit in front of the CFO, the CEO, and they were talking about all their problems. And we had business suits on.
We were like, we know what we're doing.
Our clipboard, and we're like, fake it till you make it, fake it till you make it. And he walks us through these warehouses, and Nancy and I are like looking at each other like, but we're going, oh yes, we can do it.
No problem.
No problem. So we left. We didn't give a quote because we said, oh, we need time to think about how much this whole project will cost. So we get in the car and we're like doing our high five in the car.
Love it.
Okay, how are we going to quote this? And we figured out our labor and stuff like that. And we spoke to Nancy's father, who had a business for many years. And we said, how do we price this? And he said, I'm going to tell you, you're dealing with a business. It's business to business. So this isn't business to client. It's a different, B2B is different mentalities. Like, figure out the price you want and then bump it up 20%.
Love that.
And offer the 20% because what they're going to do is they're going to negotiate you down to the price you want. And they think they won, but you won too inside. And we did that exact thing. And they hired us on the spot when we talked the contract. It was such an unbelievable moment for us. We're like, wow. And then we did the job and the job grew bigger. And we still work for that company today. And he's our biggest fan. And he's brought us so much business over the years. But that's what really, I think, gave us the confidence that we didn't have. You can't go to college to become a professional organizer. There were no workshops back then. There was no like how to. There was very little on the on the internet about our industry. But once Nancy and I realized we could do that project, we knew we could do anything. And from that day forward,
and trust me, when we first started, we did the little sign with the pull off tabs in every dry cleaner. We hit every realtor's office. We did it. Everything you could hand out, we did it. And then we got that one client. And then from there, they just trickled in slow by slow.
Really specific, because this is something that I preach on all the time. I'm a big fan of saying yes and figuring it out. And I know that for some organizers, you have that feeling of, I have to know how to do everything. I have to know all the 22 steps that I need to get from point A to point B. And if I don't know those, I can't take this job because I don't know it. How did you get that? Yeah, I got it. I'll just do it. I think that there's an X factor to that. Either you have it or you don't. But like, how did you fake yourself in? Yeah, we can totally handle this next job.
I think that Tina is that person. She's a yeser. She yeses everything. That's just who she is. We'll figure it out. No problem. I'm more of the pessimist. I don't need every step to figure it out, but I'm always like, are you sure? Maybe we should think of this. We should think of that. We should think of that. And then I think we just usually just take the leap of faith. I mean, I think we go
take
with the yes.
we
I
do,
I
but we
just
have each other's back, and I think that's what's so important. So even when I'm like, "Oh yeah, we can do this," and I can see out of the corner of my eye that she's giving me the look like, "Okay, are you sure?" But she then implies all the things that I haven't even thought about yet, but makes me think about it, and then we put into a plan of action. But we have each other to back some, not
yeah, I
everything
mean,
always works. We have failed at many things. We could write
mhm,
a book about all of our failures, the mistakes we've learned, but I'm a big believer without making mistakes, I'm
mhm,
never going to learn.
mhm,
So we just push through it,
mhm,
and yes, we make mistakes, but do we learn from them? Yes.
mhm,
And have we made some big mistakes? Yes. Have we
mhm.
learned from them?
And
Yes.
I just think, like Tina said, having another person to voice your opinions to each other about whatever's upcoming. When you're an individual organizer, it's got to be a hard thing because a lot of it must be running through your head of if you're not strong enough to say yes, it
Yeah.
would be hard. It would be, I would could see where you
Mhm.
would definitely be like, I don't know.
And that's one of the reasons that with the stuff that we do, we develop a community of people because then you can
Hmm.
go, you need
Right,
someone. Like, when I was
right.
early in my organizing business and I was truly alone, I found an organizing bestie and we would just
Mhm.
text and be like, oh my gosh, you won't believe what happened to me today. You won't believe what I found today. You won't, whatever.
Yeah,
And it's
Right.
just nice to know, even though she wasn't solving my problems, I just was
right,
able to talk about it. And like
right,
you guys have that built in with each other, but
right,
find it somewhere, whether it's a
right,
community, whether it's someone you find, like just find
right.
that person because it's really important because otherwise you can burn out really fast.
Yeah, I think that's even the way, even when you're in the process of doing an organizing job, some days you're not creative. Some days you have a
Totally.
day where you're like, I don't know, I can't figure out how that's going to fit in there.
Yeah.
And she'll walk over and go,
Or vice versa.
do, boom, or vice versa. There's just days like the other day, Tina was doing arts and crafts and
Ugh.
puzzles and games. And she walked over and she was like, I was in a garage and she was like, I got to take a break. Hi, I'm having a moment. I'm like, good, let it out, let it out, be in here for a while. And then she went
Mhm.
back and she finished it. Like it's nice to be able to
I
Yeah.
have
love that.
people.
I'm jealous too because do you guys have spaces that like one of you hates and one of you loves? Like
Oh
I hate
yeah.
kitchens and I would love to have a kitchen. I would love to have someone to be like, here's the kitchen.
Mm,
I hate it.
yeah.
We do, and we have a team now, and one of I think the best things about our team, Nancy and I hope, and one of our team members is sitting here helping us
Okay.
videotape this right now,
Hmm.
so she could even chime in and
Yes,
answer.
I
But
would love that. That'd be great.
I always think, okay, what when they start working for us and they shadow a job, because when if we bring somebody on, we also want to make sure that they like what they're doing
Yeah.
too, right?
Yeah.
Because it's going to affect their job and their quality of work that's representing our brand. So these are things that are like, come shadow a job. We'll pay you for shadowing,
Hmm.
but just learn and really see what organizing is, because I think a lot of people have this misconception about what we do. But once we find out, we put them at all tasks and then we find out what they're really good at. And we know that's what they love.
Yeah.
Like Lena is such an awesome
Bathroom.
organizer, and bathrooms are her
Bathrooms
thing.
are
Oh,
the thing. Girl can do a bathroom like that.
And
I can't
beauty
stand a bathroom.
supplies and
I don't love bathrooms either.
Oh, put
yeah,
me in a master closet. Love it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Bathroom, no, thank you.
Bathrooms
She
her
gets those drawers all done pretty quick.
yeah.
I love it.
I'll
So
take Lena next week in Minnesota. If you need help. That'd be great.
you want to go to Minnesota, Lena?
What are some of the like difficult parts of a partnership? And you're such good friends. Did you ever have a moment where you're like, wow, I hope our friendship survives? Like my daughter last year, freshman in college, she decided to room with someone that she didn't really know, but I knew her mom. So I've known this girl's mom forever. They didn't go to high school together. And I said to my daughter, I'm always going to be friends with Julie. Don't ruin this for me. Like,
Mhm.
don't have a terrible roommate situation. Have you ever had times where you're like, man, Nancy is really ticking me off today, or vice
Oh, I
versa?
think we do. I think we do. I don't know if we verbalize it all the time. I think we just do. We have moments of being on each other's nerves. I think we do.
Yeah.
I think we do.
But
I just don't think we let it.
I think we're good communicators. So
Yeah.
we'll say to each other, is something really bothering you? Or let's talk about it.
Hmm.
Or when we've had a moment, we talked about what the situation was and how we both felt about it and how we could resolve and move forward and forgive. I'm not a grudge holder. It's
Yeah.
not really my MO anyway, but do we get on each other's nerves? Yeah, it's a 45, 50-year-old friendship relationship, and we're with each other more than she's with her husband or her kid, or I'm with my kids. So yeah, the day to day, yes.
Yeah.
But I think the pros far outweigh the cons. And I
Yeah.
think that the answer to that question is yes, we have disagreements, but yes, we communicate about it and we
Yeah.
talk about it.
Yeah.
And we know when someone's having a bad day. So I know
Right.
if she's having a bad day or she knows I'm having a bad day, I'm not going to go there
Yeah.
at work because there's not a
Right.
place for it at work,
Mm-hmm.
right? Work is separate than our personal friendship because we socialize outside of work too.
Yeah, you spend
Yeah.
a lot of time together,
We
like
do. We
personal
do.
and professional. Yeah.
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 Do you guys divide things? So obviously there's the organizing side of business and then there's the business side of business. So is one of you the I want the businessy tasks, or how do you divide that kind of the back stuff?
I think we used to divide it a little bit in the beginning. I think now I think we sit down and talk about a lot of it together. I do scheduling usually, but we do scheduling together. So we decide who's on schedule. I post schedule. Like there's those simple things. Tina's much better with writing emails and the wording of things to clients. I think we're lucky we brought on a new girl this year that is a project manager for us. And
Awesome.
Lena, who does our social media, those two can whip through a computer like nothing. So I think the longer we've been in business, the older we are, we know to task things now to a
Yeah.
lot of people.
But we job share as far as the fundamentals
Yeah.
of running our business, like the financial part, we're both on board with, we're both aware, we both have access to all of that. We sit down together. We try and cut out more and more what we call like office time because our office time is in our van when one of us is driving and the other's the passenger. We go through all of our tasks, our to-do list. We talk from everything from banking to accounting to marketing to everything when it's just one-on-one. So our team doesn't see that part of our business because we keep it separate from, they don't need to know all that stuff. Plus they don't understand it. Like Nancy and I know what's going on. I feel like we job share a lot of it,
I think we do.
We communicate daily, like what's going on within our business. We're both fully aware. So if anything happened to one of us, honestly, the other can just step in and run the business.
I was just thinking about how efficient it is to use your traffic time for work. That's so smart.
Yeah.
It is our office.
Usually
is
one
our
of
van.
whoever's driving, the other one is emailing, sending text messages, moving, paying the credit card off, kinds of things that you writing an invoice, whatever we have to do.
Yeah. One of the things that I wonder about in a partnership, especially when you're with a friend, like I had this discussion yesterday with someone about, I think there are some things that need a separation of church and state. Like I don't want a personal friend to work with my finances. I don't want I wanted to hire a stranger as a realtor, for instance, instead of someone we knew. When you started your partnership, did you have any sort of like legal agreement in place or anything like that? Or did you just trust like, hey, it's all going to work out? How did that look for you guys?
I think we always viewed it as a 50-50 equal partnership, legally, financially, everything. So whatever debt we have, we know we're 50% in on it. Whatever money that's assets we have, we're 50% in on it. To me, that's such simple math, right? It's
it is.
It's not complicated. We're believers on not trying not to complicate things. Like it doesn't have to be complicated. And I don't think that part of our business has been complicated at all. So it's just literally a 50-50 partnership.
But it's important to have some things in place, even if it's 50-50, to make sure that everybody is in agreement. I think sometimes there could be handshake agreements even among friends. You just have to be careful because things happen.
Yeah,
they do. I don't know if you and I have ever.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever really discussed that.
Yeah.
I think we always just think it's going to work.
I don't even know what she knows, like she's my power of attorney for my health. Like if something,
that's good.
And I
Yeah.
said to her, okay, if I die, like you just get Uncluttered Spaces. It's written in my thing.
Yeah.
Like it's her and I started this baby. Like nobody
Mhm.
else can touch it. My
Mhm.
kids can't touch it. Her kids can't touch it. Her husband can't
Can't
touch
touch it.
it. It's our baby. And with that is you get that baby because
Mhm.
Yeah.
I trust you. We built this together and we
Mhm.
came in equal. We came in
Yep.
completely equal. I'm sure anything can happen. I've heard nightmare stories. I have friends that have partnerships and
Mhm.
it's so nitty gritty and it's one partner's really nitty gritty to the other and Nancy and I aren't nitty gritty.
Yeah.
We're not counting every single thing. It's, hey, this is what I found today that we got. You know, it's just
Yeah.
it's interesting.
But
I don't know.
I think it's also you have to pick the right person. It
Hmm.
might be that you also someone listening to this has a best friend from middle school. They might not be the best person to start a business with.
Well, here's the key
So
thing.
Right.
Nancy and I did write down our personal values, which we already knew because we grew up together. So I already
Yeah.
knew her personal values. She knows my personal values, and they align. Our values align with how we conduct ourselves just as a human being, as a
Mhm.
woman, as a friend, as a mother, as a wife, like they all, as a daughter, as a sister,
Sister.
like these things align. And I think that's part of this connection. But when we planned our business, we also wrote down a list of our business values.
Mhm.
And we wanted to make sure that we were using the same terminology of what we wanted to put out there as our brand. And our brand is us. People
Mhm.
know us
As
because we're and that's our mission statement. It's using creativity to provide solutions with kindness and compassion. That's our
Mhm.
mission statement. And that's who Nancy and I
Yeah.
are. We're just natural problem solvers with kindness and compassion.
Yeah.
And that's so important. And that's really always our end goal with our business. It wasn't like we're in this to make $1 million.
$1. Yeah.
We never had that mindset. It
Yeah.
was like, what can we do that we're really good at, change people's lives and
Be present for our families in the meantime,
time.
actually.
Both our number
Flexibility in
one
our life. Our
thing.
kids were really little when we started this. And
Yeah.
now they're all grown-ups. They're all gone. So it's been a huge journey of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. It started
Yeah,
out as
like you
a
said,
little
you
side hustle to now a
Mhm.
big business.
right. Well, and you said something too that you have seen each other personally through marriages,
Mhm.
kids, and sicknesses.
Mhm.
You've had the in sickness and in health and better for better or worse
Yeah.
here like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
businesses have ups and downs too.
Yeah.
Businesses sometimes get sick or they get tired or they get whatever. Like I'm sure over the years, like 13 years is a long time. You've probably had a
Yeah.
lot of business ups and downs too that you've had to
Oh
weather.
yeah. We've had months where we're like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do?
Yeah.
So much business this month. And
Or one of us has gotten sick. And
yeah.
how did we handle that? How do we
Mhm.
continue? One of us went through a major life-changing event. How do
Mhm.
we handle that? We went through the pandemic as a
Mhm.
business from beginning
Mhm.
through and end. But we took those opportunities, I will
And
say, and we seized those opportunities because it gave us a minute to pause
yeah.
in our lives and reflect not only personally but professionally.
And I think all those times that we've had moments of where one of us had a situation where we weren't able to work for a certain period of time, we were like, I got your back. Stop worrying about it. Stop calling me, wondering what's going on all day.
Yeah.
We got it. You know what I mean? I got you, you got me, that whole thing. And I think one of the best things for our business that Tina and I ever did was we got a mentor through SCORE. When
Okay.
we
Oh,
were
I know
going
lots of people who love score.
It
Oh
was
yeah, when we
awesome.
were going through the change of like, this
Side
really
hustle.
isn't a side hustle anymore. We're getting really busy. How like it was accountability. We didn't
Yeah.
have any accountability in the beginning, I think, for accomplishing a lot of the business things.
Yeah.
And we sat with a mentor, and that mentor was like, listed them. I'll see you in a month. This is your homework.
Yep.
And then we would meet every 2 months, and this woman was awesome. We owe a lot to her because she made us very accountable, and I think to this day we're accountable for everything in our business
Yeah.
because of
Yeah.
that, learning that.
And that's a big deal because I see that too in the people that we work with or that I work with is you need someone, okay, especially because I'm literally by myself, right?
Yeah.
Like You need to be
Right.
like, "Hey, girl, what have you done today? Have you done an email today? Have you done this?"
Yeah.
We that's something that I do in the work that I do because it is really important to have someone saying, "Hey, did you remember to do this? Hey, where are you?
Right.
Hey, I want to push you a little bit on this because
Right.
I want you to go achieve this thing, right?
That's
And
awesome.
our job is a little bit of tough love, right? And you
Mhm.
need that because otherwise it's
Mhm.
really easy to be like, "Oh, I could just sit on the couch today because you can."
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And even in our business clients, we treat our clients very different than we did in the beginning.
Yeah.
And that's like a whole crazy story. And that talks about the ups and downs of business and the lessons, hard lessons we learned. But one thing we less learned is don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Correct.
Don't ever do
Absolutely
that.
correct.
Don't
Yeah.
ever
Yeah.
do that. And we did
Mhm.
that for a while and it was great. And we were like, this is great. And then the shit hit the fan with this client. And then
It wasn't so great.
it wasn't so great, but it was looking back, this is what we talk about lessons, like it was the best thing that ever it released us and changed our mindset to a business mindset.
Yeah.
It's really hard to explain, but it was like, and that's the same time we got our business mentor. So I know people talk about you have to think like a CEO when you
Yep.
own your business, and you do. And we didn't for a long time. And I think that
Mhm.
was a big
Mhm.
lesson we learned.
Yeah.
And once we shifted that mindset, oh my
Mhm.
goodness, like we can manifest anything
Yeah.
and
And
we
I think you
and we
have to
get it.
learn to set boundaries with clients. You know,
100%.
there are certain clients that just want to be your best friend and they want to call you and they want to text you and they want you in. And there is a point to where you have to say,
Yeah.
yeah, this is a client relationship. Not that you can't act like their friend and have compassion for them. I'm not saying any of that, but there is definitely, you definitely have to
Yeah.
learn boundaries.
And one of the rules we have is we do not accept people's donations personally. And we tell
Yeah.
our team that.
Yes.
Do not, whatever they try and push on you, please say no,
No.
because with that becomes an attachment. And with that
Mhm.
attachment becomes a favor. And with that favor is now we've crossed the line between professionalism and friendship,
Mhm.
and we don't want strings attached. But we jokingly say, what happens once it gets in the van? Who knows, right? But don't accept it. Don't say, yes, I would love this
Yeah.
beautiful dress, because they're going to expect something in return.
Yes.
Right. Or the narrative is gonna change
Yeah.
to I know that I talked to an organizer about a similar situation where someone on her team at like the client had been very generous and very nice. And then someone on her team did accept something. And then it became the client started to think maybe she's trying to encourage me to donate something.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
It was like a
oh,
whole
yeah.
thing.
It's
And
messy.
Mhm.
It could get
it's
Yeah.
messy.
messy, and I will tell you, even with this is a personal thing, but I'm totally with you. I had a client who had very fancy things, lovely things, and I went there. It was the first day I worked with her, and 4 seconds after we started, she's, "Oh, I'm getting rid of this jacket. This would look really cute on you. Put it on." She was really pushy. So I put it on to make her happy, and she's like, "Oh,
Yep.
you need to take that." And I was like, "Actually, no, thank you so much. That's so nice, but no." And she was really offended. And I was like, "Ooh, I actually ticked her off by not taking it," but I tried
Oh,
to explain it was awkward, but I was like, "That's just against the boundary," but she was really
yeah.
annoyed, and I'm like, "I still know I did the right thing though, because
Yeah.
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 otherwise then it just becomes a thing."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
And
does.
we just tell, because Lena, who's this young, I'm looking over here in the corner, like she's young, cute figure. Clients are always trying to push their
Mhm.
fashion on her.
Yeah.
And even though we're like, this is not her fashion, but I can tell when she'll say no gracefully, but then I might interrupt and be like, our policy
She's
is
not
at
allowed.
Uncluttered
Yeah.
Spaces,
Yeah.
she's not allowed. So
Right.
I save her of that, but we try. But that's one of those things that as organizers we have to talk about, because we're always in those really awkward situations. And trust me, Nancy and I don't want other people's stuff. I got enough
I
of my
got
own
No.
my
stuff.
own
We always
stuff,
tell people
right?
that too. We're like,
I got a house full of
I
stuff.
got my own stuff.
Yeah.
I am always amazed too, since we're talking about this. It's amazing to me when people are like, "Would you like this dusty, terrible thing that I don't want?" And then again, I'm always really nice about it. "Oh, thank you so much, but I can't take. I just couldn't possibly." I'm like, "Why would I want that thing?"
Yeah.
I
I want
know,
that.
I know.
Exactly.
But Nancy and I definitely have looks on my face that
Mm.
once our clients get to know us, and they laugh, they appreciate it. They're like, I know that you're giving me a look. Like, why would I
Yeah.
want that, Dusty? This
Yeah.
is a look.
Yeah.
It's funny. And also
Uh,
reselling things. This is
Don't do that either.
yeah, don't
oh,
start reselling
Don't even
people's
involve yourself.
let's
ugh, it's not a
talk about
waste of
that.
time
It
and
is a
money.
waste of time and money.
All right, preach to me, ladies, because I mean,
Yeah.
I
inquire,
know.
but
Are
no,
you doing it? Do you do it?
no. Oh, but
No, we
here's why I want you to preach, because we have newer organizers who listen to this, and frankly, experienced organizers who I think get in a trap. It actually happened the other day. Someone in our inspired organizer group, she was looking for some help, and she goes, I just told she's newer, and she goes, I told a client that I would sell all their Legos, and then I told them I would do this, and then I told them I would do that. And someone in the comments is, stop right now. Go back to
Yeah.
her and be like, JK, I can't do this. Like, just
Yeah.
I
Not in
shouldn't.
my wheelhouse.
that's what we say, not in our wheelhouse.
But
Mhm.
I did it at first. I was because
Oh,
like I said earlier, I was a say yes person, and I will
Yes.
always be a say yes person. And I'm glad I said yes, because then I learned how terrible it was and that I didn't want to do it anymore.
actually, we did the
Right.
same thing.
We did
said
too.
yes to
Yeah.
T8 and on eBay, and it was such a waste of time and money. And we actually returned his items and said, "This is not
It's not
for
going to
us.
work.
Not
Yeah.
going to work."
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
But I do what you're saying though, of you do have the ability to say yes when it is, or when
Right.
you don't know, because then
Right.
it gives you that practice. If it's a
Right.
Yep.
mistake, you learn from it. And then you can also just be like, this is terrible. I hate it. I hate every second of it. It's not worth my
Yeah.
time. It's not worth my money. And by the way, you're going to come up with your own lecture. You can give clients your lovely set
Yep.
commentary. You
Yep.
can give to the client and be like, no, this is why I don't do it. And this is why you shouldn't do it either.
And we do that. And then if it's somebody who's really wanting their stuff sold, like they think their antiques are worth
Right.
something, we're very prepared with some estate traders that we know. And we say, here's their number. Good luck.
You might get
Not
2
me.
cents on the dollar, but
Yeah.
good luck.
But good luck.
Yeah.
This is a total tangent, but I did a presentation the other day at a bougie retirement community, and it was for people who were thinking about moving in there, and all of the older people thinking about downsizing. And
Mhm.
I did questions and answers, and a bulk of the questions are, how do I sell my stuff? How do I tell me about estate sales? Tell me about the blah, blah, blah. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I was saying it so diplomatically, but I was like, so many people in this room have things that they think are worth something and that they're
And
going to
they're
find
not.
out that they're not. And that is a
Yeah.
bummer. It's a
It is
rough.
a bummer.
It is a
It
bummer.
is a bummer
It's a
because
bummer.
they think it's their treasures and that they've been holding on to this from
Yeah.
since my grandmother to my grandmother, and it's not worth anything.
Yes.
And it's
It's actually just on that subject. Today, this morning, I was slothing in bed a little bit, reading the news, and there's a really good Business Insider has some not great articles, but they had a really great
Mhm.
article that interviewed a bunch of professional organizers about the Gen Z versus Boomer, like the stuff conundrum,
Mhm.
and like boomers wanting their kids to take their things, and it was actually a really good article, a lot of good stuff in it. So it's just a little plug
Oh,
to go
okay.
find that and read it. It's good.
Yeah.
But back to partnership, I will say Nancy and I always laugh. Like we look at each other when we completed a big project and we're just so grateful. We think, I couldn't do this without you.
Yeah.
And having that partnership, because it's a hard job what we do, professional organizers. And it also, our partnership has set us to be different than other organizers. And I mean that in a positive way, even how we sell our company, because we are large project, large scale based. So we
Tell
are
us a
not,
little bit about it.
we're not session based.
Mhm.
So we don't sell sessions. So somebody that wants a session organizer, will refer them to somebody else locally that does that. And we explain to them that's a one-on-one
Mhm.
relationship with somebody. You work 3 hours at a time, perhaps once a week. It depends on how the organizer wants to set you up. You have a lot of homework, so you have to be accountable most of the time to work on a one-on-one session where we're like, there's two of us, we're a team. We never send no less than two people. We have a two-person team minimum
Okay.
for any job we do,
Mhm.
because you need that person to run. We call it like working the front end and the back end of a job. And it just makes us more efficient. We're twice as fast. And also we do same day removals, because we talk about the psychological part of organizing with our client, how once we
Mhm.
get to them to make a decision, the other team member is taking it out and putting it in the van. It's
Yeah.
getting dropped off at
Get it
donation
out.
by end of day. It's
Yeah.
out. And we just talk about how we've learned over time that really team-based, paired up organizers is just so much more efficient as a service to provide. And
Yeah.
it also helps when Nancy and I talk about when we're working one-on-one, of us will start one-on-one with somebody, and it's mentally exhausting for our clients. It's not physically exhausting, but it is mentally exhausting for them. So we know we only have like bite-sized parts of their attention. And most of our clients have ADD. And I know you've talked about that before in podcasts, and it's a top subject, hot topic in our industry. But Nancy and I, with the benefit of having two people, is we can tell when that person's tired of one of us, and we'll give each other a glance and we'll just change directions. And one steps in, and only one of our clients figured it out. She was one of our favorite clients, and she was like, "Wait a minute, I know what you just
I
did.
know what you're doing.
You just switched on me on purpose, didn't you? Because I was stuck." And we're like, "Yep, we got to keep it rolling along.
Yeah.
Keep it moving."
But I love that you fool most people. I like that.
Yeah.
We do.
And I a lot of credit to somebody that owns their own professional organizing and does it, even if you're doing it 3-4 hours a day. It's a lot for one person to do.
There
You get
are a lot of
credit.
parts of it. What you just said really, I think about these things a lot. I basically spend my entire life thinking about professional organizing, which maybe I should get a hobby, but like I do think if you really think about, because like you said, clients get mentally exhausted. And sometimes the clients are like, why am I tired? And I just say to them, because you just made thousands of decisions.
Yep,
Like
exactly.
paperwork in particular, they're like, why am I so tired of
Oh,
paperwork
yeah.
decisions? And your brain is tired. Guess what we have to do as organizers? We not only have to anticipate what we're going to have them sort through next, we're going to get the piles together, we're going to categorize them, figure out what the best way to work with their psychological state. We're going to we're having to do all of that in our head. So we're doing 10 times as much work as they are. And we're hauling their stuff out to their car. We're tired. It's hard work.
It's hard work. It's hard work. Lena was over here on the side here.
Yeah.
And she just wrote 2 really good words. She wrote decision fatigue.
Yes.
For the real
for your client. Decision fatigue. That's a good one, Lena.
Listen, we got to get Lena on the podcast next.
I know.
Come over here.
Come over here.
Come over here, Lena. Hi, Lena. How are you? So if everybody's watching on YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see Lena too. No, decision fatigue that's really important. And like Lena, can't you see it? Like you can see a client start to get tired.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And
Mhm.
that's the good thing about you guys is sometimes I feel like you can make a decision for people and they actually appreciate it.
Oh yeah.
Like, you don't need that. And they're like, you're right.
I actually talked about this earlier this week with someone. I said, sometimes my job is to give you permission just to take that thing away. I will just say to them, would you like me to disappear this? And they'll be like, yeah. They don't want to know what happens to it. They just don't want to do it themselves.
Exactly. Yeah, there is that there is that period where they say, you know what, I'm done for the day. You know where I'm going with everything.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you make the decisions.
But our partnership,
and I'm okay.
Decision fatigue is really important in our partnership because one of us will get fatigued and the other one can jump in. So awesome too.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, how we're able to do these bigger projects too. And we always say to the client, like, we do a project from beginning to end. Like we never leave part of it hanging, and we don't start another job until we're done your job.
Okay, I love that.
Focus solely on your project, and we have X amount of time to do it because we've already forecasted the time in our contract what we were going to do, and that's our focus is that huge project from beginning to end. From the last detail, I mean, we hang artwork, stage houses, we redesign the spaces. We're doing it all besides doing the organizing, the decision making.
And we have great team members. Like when Tina and I are doing all this purging and we're pushing and we're separating, they're implementing, like they're working their butts off to, one is taking the donating out, one is doing the trash, breaking down boxes, whatever. One is resetting the room as we're speaking and moving on to the next. So, to have good team members is really important to Tina and I.
Yeah.
So
average length, since you're doing bigger jobs, do you have an average length of one client? I know it wildly varies, but
you mean per job or per
are your jobs usually like a week, 2 weeks? Are you with
sometimes 2 weeks? We've done 2 weeks.
We've done 3 years.
Oh yeah,
a 3-year project. Yeah, we've done most of our projects. We try and get the whole house, right? Like for us to take a job, we try and sell, because as we know, one thing we've learned after all these years, one space leads to another. One space is not going to solve the client's issues, because we also dive really deep into the issue.
Mhm.
We look at how the family functions. We look at how their brain works. You know, when we interview, we do a free consultation, and sometimes they take up to an hour. Nancy and I spend time, but we ask really hard questions.
Yeah.
I will come out and ask, just by looking around and seeing what's going on, do you have ADD or ADHD? Have you
Yeah.
ever been diagnosed? Is there something else that's happening within your family dynamic? Because one thing we found out too, a lot of our clients have like life things that alter their lives, whether it was a
Wow.
death or a divorce or an accident or an illness or something so life
Personal.
changing
Yeah.
that has derailed them in organizing, but inside them they have that ability.
Yeah.
We know that they once had it and we help them get it back. And that's, I think, what separates hoarding to people looking for chaos and hoarding. I'm going to call it
Yeah.
those two different things, I
Yeah.
don't even know if that's a real thing in our industry, but hoarding is very different than chaos in my book.
Totally different. Yes.
And we get vetted for hoarding clients, and we're not licensed certified psychiatrists. So
We don't take them
we don't
on.
take them on because that is a severe trauma. So severe that you have to dig really deep. We do deal with other traumas, like we talked about death, divorce, illness, that we know that we can get them back out of the chaos,
Right.
back into implementing systems that they can
Right.
continue to use. Because we fail at our job if we leave
Yeah.
a job and we have to
Yeah.
maintenance them once a month. Nancy and I
Yeah.
do not really
I
want
don't
to do
wanna do that.
maintenance. We
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
We don't. If we're good at
Yeah.
our job, we're going to put systems in place and they're going to work
Yeah.
for how that family
Yeah.
works.
And there have been times, it's recently happened to us where we had a client, she didn't want to be super involved. She was trying to explain to us what her system, what she wanted for her family. We thought we implemented it. And then the next day we came back and she had little tags everywhere
Mm.
and was like, this is not going to work for my family. This is not going to work. And we were like, all right, then we need your attention. Like you have
Yeah.
to be present.
You can't have
to
it
be
both
present.
ways.
So else you're wasting your money.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
wasting your time and you're wasting your money because
Yeah.
you're going to be unhappy with our service.
Yeah.
That's not fair to you or I or us.
Yeah.
So let's figure out what actually works. And then we got it right. And that happens.
There are the clients who expect you to do the miracle, and we are miracle workers, but we cannot do everything.
Readers.
Well, once in a while, we'll have someone. There was one yesterday actually in our group where she sent a picture and she's my client. It was a pantry. She had a list of things that clients wants, but she was like, oh, also she doesn't want organizing supplies. She doesn't want this. And I go, so she wants a fairy to like, like
Yeah.
there are only so many things that we can do. And
Yeah.
you can't say I'm not willing to be involved, but I also don't like what you did.
It's hard.
Well,
That's a hard thing.
it is hard. Well, going back to something that you said too, when you were talking about a lot of the people we work with had some sort of an event, and it might be it's divorce or it's just being a parent of small kids or it's who knows what.
Mm.
I would also add to that the pandemic, I think
Oh.
really messed people up.
Oh, yeah.
Myself included. Like when I was very fortunate during the pandemic. I didn't have any huge life changes, but I just think there's been something about since 2020. I think a lot
Uh-huh.
of things have changed.
Uh-huh.
And so I think even just that has really changed people's brains
Right.
and made
Right.
things a lot harder to accomplish.
Yeah, I agree. I also think the pandemic, it was a terrible thing and people died from it, but it truly
Changed
helped our industry.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, because people are in their
People
home.
are like in their houses going, wait, what?
Yep.
My husband has to work here every day. Where is he going to be out of my bubble? Where are
Mhm.
my kids going to be out of my bubble? Those kinds of things that I think
Yeah.
really boosted our business a lot.
Yeah.
And people made a lot of changes. And I think a lot of people realized how much stuff they had and why am I bogged down with all this stuff?
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
need it. I think it made them feel a little sense of like just being with their families.
Yeah.
And being okay.
Yeah, and I think all of those things are true. I think that we have fundamentally changed, but also we realize how important our houses are, how it's worth it to have some of these services. This is a really important part of our life, and we need to just concentrate more on it.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that's where I keep getting back to normalizing what we do. I
Yeah.
think 2020s helped us head in that direction. Let's hope so, that it's normalized what we do.
And I think and I think like Tina and I have always talked about this with some of our older clients is that the generations coming up behind us, they're not living for great linens,
No.
antique furniture, kind of
multiple
patterns. They're not ironing their pillowcases like our mothers did. They're in life for experiences. They want to be with their kids every moment. They want to be with their kids out doing things all weekend long. They're not doing household chores. It's a lot different for younger people nowadays. And I think it's starting to make older people realize like there's a shift.
Yeah.
And young people and moms, they're willing to hire people to come in and want the pantry that they want or want their master closet like they want because they don't want to do it on the weekends.
They're tired. I
Right.
Yeah, I have a client I did a consultation with this week, and she has 4 kids, and she's a stay-at-home mom, but "I can't do it." She goes, "My husband keeps asking me, like, why can't you do it?" And she goes, "I can't because I'll get one little thing done, and then all the other things stop." And I'm like, "Yeah, you don't have first of all, you don't have to explain it to me. I'm with you." Like,
Yeah.
but it's just really hard, and you just want someone to be like, "Can you please fix it for me? And then I will go do it, but I need someone to come in and fix it."
It's like a
Right.
reset. I
Mhm.
think a
Yeah.
lot of families need like
Mhm.
seasonal resets. And Lena and I were talking about that recently. Like when in one of our van drives, Nancy was in another car. We were like, okay, in our industry, what are we really selling? The type of service that professional organizing is, and how do we get people to understand what we do? And because we have a client who she needs a reset, like she needs right before the holidays. She needs right after the holidays. She needs right when school ends, and she needs right when school starts. And really, that's the common reset of how Nancy and I lived our lives and raised our family. That was my own personal reset. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. And it's like I always described it as having you're stringing beads as a mother that you don't have when you don't have organization skills, and that knot somebody unties constantly. So the
I was
beads
just
are
about to
falling
say,
off and you're just putting
beads
them
are
in.
falling off the other end.
Yeah. And I think when you do a solid, like hardcore reset and put systems in place and do a whole house in totality, it is amazing and life changing.
Yeah.
And that woman or man, whoever, can now proceed and follow those procedures. Does that make sense? And I just think that's huge of what we sell people.
Yeah.
And that's why we call it the project base. We're like, we're going to sell you a huge project, but it's worth it. And also women, the money you spend is the best self-care
Care.
you will ever
Yes.
spend
Yep.
on yourself.
Yep.
Ever.
Well, and it is, if my calendar is correct, it is Mental Health Awareness Month as we
Yes.
are recording this. And I always tell people, because I think one of the things that the pandemic did bring us also, and it's been happening over years, but we are a lot more open about talking about mental health and how important mental health is and talking about depression and anxiety. And I'm very much like you. I will ask a client, "Do you have ADHD?" The other day I said,
Or depression.
yeah, I go, "Have you been diagnosed with ADHD?" And she goes, "How could you tell?" And I'm like, "Oh."
Yeah.
But I do think we're so much better in saying this is a mental health service we are offering. One of my favorite client quotes I ever got was, "I did a cost benefit analysis of you versus my therapist. You are more effective and you cost less money." That was like a great
Wow.
testimonial. But
Yes.
shift is especially for, I'm not just saying we only service moms, we service lots of people, but especially for moms, especially for people that have a lot of chaos in their life, this is a service that helps anxiety, depression, all of the
Oh
things.
yeah.
It
Yeah.
does. It's huge.
Yeah.
And we're expensive.
Yeah.
And we tell people that, listen, we're expensive. And recently, and a lot of organizers talk about know your worth, know your worth. Nancy and I have figured out our worth over the
Yeah.
years, and we know our worth.
Yeah.
And we're not afraid to quote our worth.
Yeah.
And we sold a big job to a client, and she was having a moment in the beginning, and she was anxiety, everything was just like crashing in. You have those moments. And she made a comment. She's like, "And you're really expensive." And I stopped her. I said, "You're right. We are really expensive, but I guarantee you, we are worth every single penny.
Yeah.
And you're going to come out on the other end spending a lot of money, but we're going to change your lives. That's why you hired us.
Yeah.
And she said that was the best thing. We worked for her for now a year and a half, and we will always be on her payroll and always on her team and supporting her and her family because we changed her life and she knew it
Yeah.
after it was said. But Nancy and I are not afraid anymore to just let people know. And not everyone's going to be able to afford us, unfortunately. And I wish we could help everybody that comes our way. But we do try and break it down. Like maybe we'll work within your budget and start
In the
small.
phases. Sometimes we'll do phases.
We'll break
with
it into
people.
phases.
Let's do phase 1. We'll start.
I love to help people who truly can't afford our services, and I've talked to a lot of people who feel that same way, and what I remind people sometimes is that I was talking to someone the other day who really just wanted to make her services extremely inexpensive so that anybody could afford her, and I just said, "What I want you to do is charge the people who can truly afford it, and then do some clients pro bono or do some clients." I told a story about I had a client that I said, Could you afford $20 an hour? And then I forgot to invoice her. Like you can do those things, but you need to get paid what you are worth by people who very much can afford our services and who,
Right.
I have a client coming up who made sure that I knew what her personal training schedule was and her yoga schedule and everything else because she couldn't be around during those times. And I'm like, yep, where you're paying for all those other things, I am a service just like those services, and
Right.
it's very much worth it to the people.
Yeah, and there's other ways to give back. One of our core
Yes.
values in our business was we give back. And
Yeah.
Nancy and I brainstormed, how do we want to give back? Who do we want to give back to? And in the beginning, we were knocking on doors, believe it or not, opportunity councils in our local community. We were looking to help like homeless women living in shelters, getting them into their new apartment. And there was so much bureaucracy
Yeah,
and red
hard.
tape, like we couldn't get in. So we finally did find an organization that we do volunteer at and we help. And it's a shelter for women, and they give them skills, life skills. It's an 18-month program that gives them life skills to live independently with their children, and we volunteer and we teach them organization skills, and we help out with the group home itself. So we do know, like, it is important for us to give back, but you can give back in so many different ways and just giving your service for free.
Yes, percent. I absolutely love that, is that there are lots and lots of ways that you can help and give and probably spread the word much farther than working with one person one-on-one. I love that. So
Yeah.
what are some of the things that you do, like, when you talk about, like, you wanna normalize what organizing is? Do you guys have anything specifically that you do, or have you thought about anything? Like, because I'm very much on board with this.
So one of the things we've been working through is like the umbrella of our services. It's such a big umbrella. And Nancy and I've tried to narrow it down over the years because we also have learned what we like and what we don't like to do. One of the services we would love to normalize, which we learned about at the HT Summit, like we were really interested in the subject, is the Concierge Relocation
Oh, it was such a
service.
good presentation. I loved it.
And we've been growing
that's
that
what we do.
business, and that's probably our favorite thing to do.
Favorite thing.
Like
Love it.
we love doing that huge, complicated project. Like we have a client right now, they sold 3 homes across the United States and relocated them all into one central home. So we had to intake 3 totally different, unique properties. They didn't purge one thing and
Not
get
one
rid of
thing.
one thing.
Of course
With
not.
trucks. I think we're on our like 20th truck coming in today. We have a team there today that they're receiving, and it's literally like trying to make sense of all this stuff and organize it. But those are the jobs we love and we love to be known for because they're complicated, they're messy. I love problem solving. So it's let me put this puzzle together type thing. I think I'm getting off topic with your question.
No, you're not. Not at all.
But just that is a big part of the concierge relocation.
One of the things that Brandon said in that presentation is, and I know they gave 3 different ones. So just anybody who wasn't at the summit, Brandon and Mallory of Hello Happy Home are talking about these concierge move services. They do really big scale moves. And one of the things that he literally had the room chant, it was very funny, take back the unpack. Like we want organizers to be involved with moving because like I have a friend that I helped, a personal friend, that I helped pack up, and she said, "Oh, her mom was going to help her on the other end," and she goes, "Oh,
Mhm.
my mom is so happy that you're doing this because the last time I moved, she screams at me from the other room, Ashley, why is there a shoe in a pan?" And my
Yeah,
because there was space in the pan. I don't know. And I
yeah.
was like, we're not putting shoes in pans, right? You can make so much money from, even if you just very simply did packing and unpacking, so much money to be made in moves.
Oh, I agree. I
Yeah.
think it's so gratifying. I think it's very gratifying for us and for even our team members. I think it's very gratifying to pack somebody up,
Yeah.
organized, purged, and then when you move them in, how easily it flows into just
Yes.
putting it away.
Yep.
And I think there's times where we kind of estimate jobs a little bit longer and we finish it so quickly because our team members are so efficient. We're so efficient with the packing that the client is, what? You're done already? It's so gratifying to see them be like, I can
And
just,
they're thrilled.
yeah,
Yeah, and
thrilled.
normalizing that professional organizer should be a part of moving
Yes.
because when you set up systems
Mhm.
the day you move in your house, your flow should be consistent throughout the lifetime of owning that house.
Mhm.
And that's a big problem when we walk into homes that are total chaos and they'll say, I moved in and this is how I moved in
Yeah.
20 years ago.
20 years ago.
And we're like, okay, that's a problem.
There's still boxes in the basement I haven't
Yeah.
moved. I'm like, why even
So-
move? Why bother?
So
Why
I think
bother?
the answer to that question is normalizing the relocation service as a normal, much needed service under
Yeah.
the professional organizing umbrella. And we're
Mhm.
trying to rebrand our vans because it just says professional organizers on it. And I think I was the crazy one that lifted my hand in the lecture with Happy Home saying we all agree to call it the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
In
I
our
was in your
industry.
section.
Yes,
Yeah.
because I think that's a big problem that Nancy and I and our team, we go back and forth. Is it move management? Is it, I like movement. We always called it move management because we really manage it. We pack it, we expedite the
it.
move with the
Yeah.
movers, we receive the move with the
But
movers.
nobody's going to Google move
That's the
management.
problem.
Right.
People don't
Then you're
Google.
going to come up as a mover. It's all
Yeah,
that
so
Google
Nancy and I would really
wording.
like down this wormhole in that part,
Yeah.
that umbrella, that part of under
Yeah.
umbrella. What do we all agree
what are we?
collectively as professional organizers to call this? I think it's concierge relocation is what everybody.
Yeah, I like that too,
Call
because
it.
I was in your exact same session and you are absolutely right. We need a name for it.
Yeah.
But it has to be a thing that people are going to Google. Otherwise it doesn't
Right.
answer. But it is a little bit of education of, hey, I think most people don't know that we can even do this. First of all, a lot of professional organizers don't offer it. I'd love for you to offer it.
Right.
Do in the bounds of your abilities, interests, whatever. But even if
Right.
you just unpacked people, even if
Yeah.
you I don't want to pack. I don't want to deal with movers. I don't want to deal with all that. Have a really robust unpacking service because exactly what you said. People move into houses and they're so stressed out and they're like, I don't care where the cups go. I don't care where my shoes go. I don't care. Eventually you do care. You just
care.
don't care the weekend you move in. And
Right.
then you're in chaos for infinity. And so
Right.
the selling point is let us do it for you right the first time and you don't have to redo it
Right.
14 times.
And every moving company and every personal organizer should have relationships. You should at least try to find somebody you can do business with that you're going to give each other business.
Yes.
Because
And they
it's
do not know
just-
how to pack.
no,
No.
They offer it. Movers do not know how to pack.
they'll
No.
just take a drawer and
Dump it.
We had I actually my comment on this post in our group the other day was this is the worst post that we've ever had in this group. And I was only barely kidding because it was people were talking about like gross things that they have found. And most of the comments were things that people found when movers packed it. Like 90% of them, it was like movers packed a bowl of oatmeal that then went in storage for 6 months. Movers
Yeah.
packed a piece of pizza that they do not they will pack literally trash. So
Yep.
an
Yeah.
organizer isn't going to do that.
Yeah.
No,
Nope.
no.
Nope.
And it's going to
No.
cost them more money on the, if you're not organized from the pack to the whole process, it ends up costing you a lot more money. And I think that's
So much
another
more.
thing we're trying to normalize with people too. The cost of these type of jobs seem so expensive because they are very labor intensive. And the amount of labor you need for these jobs is a lot. But they're going to save money down the road. And it's trying to sell that point to them too is,
Yeah.
interesting.
Cost and price are different. And
Mhm.
people don't always see that.
Right.
There is a price of our services, and then there is a cost of choosing not to do it. And there is all sorts of things, opportunity cost, all sorts of boring financial things that you can talk about. But
Right.
the difference between, yes, our service might feel like it is pricey, but the cost of not doing it is going to build up over time in the following ways. And sometimes you just have
Right.
to come up with that story. So,
Yeah.
but any other services that you guys just love to offer?
I love when we have a luxury concierge service that we do. We do
Oh,
it
tell me about
for a
that.
lot. We have a couple clients who live out of the States that live in the UK,
Okay.
and they live in beautiful homes that we treat like a boutique hotel.
Oh, I
So
love that.
whenever and particularly one of them, we have set up the whole house from the time that it was built. And that was really fun. They were like, this is everything. They had interior designers, and the interior designers bought them plates and some silverware, but they had like furniture. They had no coffee maker. We were like,
Oh,
so when they come into town, they're going to have to run out and go buy all this. We offer this service to provide all of that in your kitchen, your bedrooms. So they hired us, and we love that. I love that part of our business too. Just when you walk in their house and everything is prepared for them, it's a wonderful feeling. They can come in with ease. They don't have to worry about anything. All their rooms are reset. Their provisions are bought for them. So we set up for their parties, and it's just it's fun. It's like light. It's not super hard work like you're doing all the time when you're unpacking.
Yeah.
right.
So
And it's our baby. I think
yeah,
we all treat it like it's our baby because we actually
did it all.
started it from the very beginning to make this house, this
Mhm.
beautiful home into a boutique hotel. And we tell this client, we're like, we treat it like a boutique hotel from the finest fragrance, home
Yeah.
fragrance. And then we decorate when they come in town. Like we add those little touches, like
Mhm.
fresh flowers. And that's our favorite place for all of our team members to work.
Yeah.
They love going to this residence because it's just a wonderful feeling.
Yeah.
But we have background in hospitality and hotel and
Mhm.
restaurant background. So that was one of the assets we brought to one of the services when we started Uncluttered Spaces. What are we really good at? It's that we're very good at the little details too. And where
Well,
we live, a lot of people have multiple homes all over the world. So we're really blessed of our location of our company.
Mhm.
So we have people who we know don't live here permanently. So
yeah.
it's their vacation homes for them.
So
And
it's
you're
like a
on the East
second
Coast.
home for a lot of New Yorkers.
Yeah.
Tina and I have lived here our whole lives.
Yeah.
We both have left and have come back.
Yeah.
But back in the day, or in the 90s, a lot of New Yorkers lived here. A
Sure.
lot. And it was their second home. And then it went away. They went away. And now
back.
they're coming back. The trend is coming back to go live in your country home.
Yeah.
Well,
So
Bradley,
But we're
yeah.
fortunate enough not just to have celebrities, but we have that kind of percentage of people that live in our area. So that's a plus and why we're able to offer that kind of luxury high-end
service.
concierge
That's a
service.
really good point of some services are very dependent on where you live, right? Like we have people of all geographies. We have people across the world that listen to this, and just throughout the United States. Every once in a while, someone in Europe will be like, "This is just a very American centric," and I'm like, "Here's what you need to understand: America isn't the same from one city to like the difference between
Right.
Philadelphia and York, Pennsylvania is wide, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to look at your own geography and look at what your market can handle. But if your market can handle it, and I would argue that a lot of markets can handle a lot of things,
Yeah.
Mhm.
gonna
If your
time
market
some
has
out.
a vacation area, that's your concierge
Yeah.
area that
Yeah.
you should be marketing to, whether it's a lake, a beach,
A
whatever.
mountain.
A mountain.
Yeah.
Yep.
A lot of places have second homes. I live in Minnesota. Almost everyone, except for the family I married into, has a cabin. I'm not upset about that at all. It's totally fine. No, but you have to think about, hey, I live in an area where a lot of people do have these cabins. And now
Mhm.
cabin really is often just a cabin, but it still is a second place that sometimes people need help in their main home or they go away to the cabin for the whole summer, whatever. You just have to be really creative about the services
Mhm.
offering based on the area that you live in.
And Melissa,
Mhm.
you're seeing a generational wealth transition right
Yes.
now. So these cabins are now being passed down to this younger generation who has a different mindset. And they're
Yep.
going to love a professional organizer to come in and set it up how
Right.
they want it, like a boutique hotel. They want
There
it
are.
to just drop their bag and
Right.
enjoy the cabin that they inherit. You know
Right.
what I mean? So that's another thing too, is this whole transfer of wealth happening
Yeah.
to the younger generation all over our country. And that's the generation who we want to normalize our service to.
Right.
Honestly, they
Right.
get it. They get
That
it.
was part
And they are the generation also that both of them are going to have to work too.
yes.
There's that generation of where both of them are going to have jobs, and they're the ones that are going to say, you know what, honey, I'm working. I want this done.
Yeah.
I'm willing to pay for it. So,
That was actually part of that article I was talking about earlier. It's an $84 trillion generational wealth transfer that is
It's
happening.
happening.
Mhm.
It's
And we're
not happening
seeing
in my house, but it's happening other places.
It's not happening in my house either.
Me either.
Or it's also, I'm so going to go off topic because we haven't even talked about senior
Yeah.
move relocation, which
Mhm.
is another branch of our tree that we service, is just senior move management. And that is, we partnered with a community, and I recommend this for anybody, professional organizer that likes doing this. So the assisted living communities in our area, most of them across the United States, are owned by one big company,
Mhm.
and they manage them all. So if you can get in with that company, so Nancy and I are affiliated with the ACTS community, ACTS, and they have a subdivision that they have a contract with called Live Now Relocation that's based out of Chicago. So it's two women that started this company a couple years ago. They serve people in the service industry, from movers to professional organizers to real estate agents,
Mhm.
and they sell that service to these big communities. And then we are a vendor on that list.
Yeah.
And these women, listen, reach out to them, anybody listening, because they're trying to go national and they're amazing. So we partnered with them, that led us to a partnership with the ACTS community. So now we have this kind of special division within our brand that just does senior move management into assisted living, which is very different than over 55. Nancy and
Yes.
I just learned
Yeah.
this through trial and error of being in business. We were marketing to over 55 communities for years, getting zero business.
Zippo.
Oh, like,
Yeah.
why are we not getting any over 55?
Mhm.
And now the over 55 community is now, unfortunately, edging into assisted living because they're aging out. The baby boomers, I call them the boobies.
Well, the booby boomers are also great.
They're aging out into
Yeah.
the final. It's so sad to talk about it like this, but it literally is the final transition of their lives. And these communities know it. So they're literally, where we live, they are gutting them and turning them into cruise ships. Nancy and I've never seen anything like it. The amenities of these facilities are absolutely insane,
Yeah.
so over the top. And it's because they are controlling the wealth right now.
Yes.
And I think these companies know, okay, we got to make it better because they're going to pay for it. And that is like $1 trillion industry in itself, the assisted living industry.
Yeah.
And those are the clients that can afford our services and probably need us the most because they have no help.
Yeah.
So Nancy and I we've made a little niche in that industry in the last 18 months.
And we've had a lot of their children
Yeah.
who are like, we're hiring them because I don't have the time or the patience to work with you. It causes fights, it causes whatever tension between all of them when older people want to keep all their stuff. And so we've gotten a lot of people that have been like, my mom needs your help. I will be at the estimate. We will make it possible.
But they physically can't do it. So they need us, where the over 55s, they're still physically active. And that was the lesson I learned. Okay, that's why they're not hiring us, because they still have this I can do attitude.
I can do it.
I can do it. And they
Sure.
are doing it. But when you get to 80, you're not doing it.
And this retirement community I was talking about the other day, when I said bougie retirement community, I was not joking. It is. When you say it's like a cruise ships don't have anything on this place. I was like, I move in. Like,
aren't they unbelievable?
Unbelievable.
The shift
Lovely.
in that industry is like unbelievable. But
you gotta have a lot of money to move into.
You
but
do. Yes.
you need so
You
much
do.
money, but they're the ones controlling that wealth still. And that's why that was like my aha moment, like connecting the dots. Wait a minute, why are these places bougieing up? Because they're the ones with the money right now.
Yeah. It's amazing that they're taking rooms down to like the foundations and
Oh, yeah.
rebuilding.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Sad.
This is a totally like we're going the absolute opposite direction, but it's just like when you look at trends, because one of the things you have to do as a good business person is look at trends in
Mhm.
like life in general. And one thing, and it's probably just because I have kids that are college age, but college dorm rooms, when you look at what people are doing, they're hiring professional organizers, interior designers for dorm rooms. So when you think about that's the aesthetic or that's the expectation, I guess is a better word
Mhm.
of, and whether I like it or not is inconsequential. I do think it's
Yeah.
ludicrous, but
Yeah, me too. Me
personally
too.
for my own children,
Yep.
they're
Yeah.
not getting
Yep.
that.
Yeah.
But my point is the aesthetic or the expectation of people now that are younger and younger, the Instagram aesthetic now, Instagram does everything. And so then you think that's going to start to transfer throughout everyone's lifespan. So they're going to want dorm rooms are nicer now at college. First apartments are nicer. How like
Mhm.
all of these things are nicer. And so the expectation of the upkeep that comes with that, someone like us can really help with that throughout someone's entire life cycle.
Right.
Exactly.
And they want instant gratification.
Yep.
So we can
Yep.
bring in a team of 8
Here's
people and
what I
have it
want it
done
to
in one
look
day.
like. I
Right?
made a Pinterest board. I want all these things in it. I
Yeah.
want bins. I want the plastic, acrylic, everything.
So, what are some things that you think about, whether it's your partnership? Do you envision keeping this going for a while, or you're just going to ride the train till it's gone? Or do you guys have any thoughts about what comes next for you?
We have thought about it.
Yeah. I think we're here until we're ready to retire.
Yeah.
But we also are growing our business
Yeah.
with the hopes, and we do tell some of our team members, like this could be yours
It
one
could
day.
be yours one day.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. Like
could-
we're not, Nancy and I, one thing is we never got in this to be millionaires. That was never our value. Like we talk about core values. It wasn't like, how can we get rich quick kind of scheme. It was like,
Mhm.
when we started this, it was like, how can I be home by 3 o'clock when my
Yeah.
kid gets off the bus?
Yeah.
And how can I be home in the morning? And how can I say, no, I don't want to work this day?
Mhm.
Yeah.
But that's why we started Uncluttered Spaces, because it gave us flexibility in our
In our
schedule. We could
lives.
say to a client, oh, we're not available that day.
Yeah.
Can't
And
do
we
that
didn't have
day.
to know. And that was priceless to Nancy and I.
Mhm.
We couldn't put a value on it because that's was what was important to us. But as we said, like it has grown and the stakes are higher and our kids are all grown
Yeah.
up and gone. And now it's
God,
us.
I work more now than I did when I got out of college.
Yes.
Oh, for
That's
sure.
my first real job
Yeah.
that I had for 12 years, by the way.
And we're building it to offer other jobs for other women. We want them to get paid. We
Mhm.
want them to be economically sound and be able to provide for themselves and
Mhm.
their families. So we're big about spreading the wealth within our
Yeah.
business. And if that means one day that one of them or two of them want to partner up
Wanna
and
do
take it
it?
over,
Great.
there we go. Yeah, but
That would be
we're
great.
still 55 and still young. We're not ready
Oh,
to
heck yeah.
retire. Yeah.
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 I'm
So-
only 5 years behind you, so I'm
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
still
Yeah.
we're still trucking for a while.
Yeah.
I just think that you do have to have a plan, right? Because sometimes things happen and but also just knowing that like my husband said this to me like right at the beginning when there are days that you question, what am I doing? Wait a minute, I think I might have made a huge mistake. Like what? And he just looked at me and he goes, because at that time I was making less money than I had in my prior life. And he just said, you can't put a price on your happiness. And he's like,
Yeah.
you're just a happier person. You enjoy what you're doing. Like you're not coming home cranky. And we just had this long talk about it. And so what you said is you didn't do this to be millionaires because this would be a hard business to like,
Right.
this is not a get rich quick scheme that we're running here. But it is like there is a different value to a business and flexibility and life and being able to say, sorry, I can't be there
Mhm.
today, or being there for your kid, whatever that looks like for you.
Right.
That to me is worth an incalculable amount of money.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we genuinely love what we do. And that's a big thing too.
Yeah.
Like we love helping people. We're just anybody in this industry that's so a lot of our team members, guess what? All their degrees are in. Take a guess.
Psychology like mine?
Yeah.
Psychology. Everyone we hire, psychology degree. Lena too.
Hands up, girl.
So we're all in it for the same reasons, whether we know it or not. We're just empaths. We like to help
Yeah.
people.
You get to do
There's
something different every
every
day.
day.
You're not doing the same thing week by week,
We
day by
probably
day.
all
It's
have
a new
ADD
challenge every
too.
day.
Yeah.
all have ADD too, because we
A
like to keep
100%. As
right.
I recorded a podcast yesterday and I said, whether you have a TikTok diagnosis or an actual diagnosis, I think we've all pretty much got it. But yeah, as
Yeah.
someone, so the person I was having the conversation with yesterday, who is also a dear friend of mine, she was having one of those days a few days ago and she texted me and she goes, I just realized, she goes, yeah, this today is not great. I hate this job. I don't like what I'm doing, but I get to go home at the end of the day and then I'm done. Like, I
Mhm.
don't have to be here every single day. And I know when I went to an office, every day was the terrible
Yeah,
Oh,
job.
no,
terrible.
Nancy and I never would work for our
Mhm.
personalities. Yeah.
And so I go, and she
Mhm.
said, I just realized today's not great, but I'm done at the end of the day. And then I don't have to go back to the house. It's fine. Like, there's a finite, even if you have a job that isn't your favorite, it's a finite
Right.
period of time. You're making very good money doing it. You can just be done. And then you can move on to a more enjoyable job. It's really, it is that simple.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It is. And I think that's one of the Nancy and I love that part about it because we love
Mhm.
the constant change. And I think that's one of the reasons why we both really don't like maintenance.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
we really feel like we didn't do our job if we cannot let
Right.
go
It's
of
disappointing.
this
Gets to be
client's
disappointing.
hand
That's
and
funny.
move
Yeah.
on. So we're always like, oh, maintenance. Oh,
Yeah.
but I always say, if I have to maintenance somebody, it means I may have failed at what I'm trying to do. I
Mhm.
look at it
Right.
that way too. Did I do my job the way I set out to do by putting systems in place for this family to follow properly? But we do have some maintenance clients.
That's,
But
I think, the only
Yeah.
place
yeah,
where we differ is I do a lot of maintenance and I actually
yeah,
enjoy it, but I understand what you're saying and I understand that you can go, that's not my jam. I'm going to send that out.
Mhm.
When you talked about referral partner, like have people to refer to. If you have someone in your area that loves maintenance and it's not
Yeah.
you, cool, send those over to them and
yeah.
Yep.
We
set
have
up a
done that. We have,
yeah,
yeah.
I love that you have phrased so you might not love maintenance, but I love that concept you guys have about resets, 4 resets a year
Yes.
or whatever. That is and that's true. Those are those seasons of life that you might need a little bit of that refresh, and I think that's
Yep.
great.
Yep.
Yeah, so
Yep.
that's what we actually do that for a
Yeah.
couple clients, and that's what I love, that kind of maintenance. But coming
Mhm.
in once every 2 weeks, to me now, I'm a housekeeper, and I think there's a fine line,
Mhm.
and we could even do a whole podcast about how we say no, we are not cleaners, right?
Mhm.
We all say
Right.
that we do
Right.
not
We do
clean.
not
We
clean.
do not clean. Let me make that very clear to you right from day one. We're not cleaners,
Yeah,
but that I think there's like those gray areas in our industry, right? And you have to know as an organizer what you like to do, what you
You
don't
do.
like to do,
totally.
and define them
Mhm.
to yourself
But
uniquely.
say yes at least once.
Yes.
Oh, we did it all. We said yes to everything, and I think that's why we can confidently right now say we know what we like and what we
What we
don't
do.
like.
Yeah. You might decide you might surprise yourself either way. You might go, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna love doing XYZ," and you hate it. Or you
Right.
might
Yep.
go, "Oh, I'm really gonna hate this," and go, "Huh, who knew? I love this."
Yeah.
Just say yes 1 or 2 times, and then you can set the boundary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Is there anything that I haven't covered that you would like to? Lena, did we miss anything?
Yeah.
I
Lena,
don't
my new
think
best
so.
friend.
That was comprehensive.
We know it's not for everybody,
Yeah.
but
Some people like to work alone in
some
their
people
own,
like to work alone,
you
but
know?
if you're lucky enough to find one that you trust, it's the sky's the limit,
Right.
really.
Yeah.
I think it's really sweet. I think it's awesome that when I think back to middle school, a lot of people don't enjoy middle school. I'm one of them. And so I love that you have this relationship that has
Mhm.
transcended all of this time and that you can share so much of your life. I think it's awesome. I think it's really
Yeah.
sweet.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. We are very blessed
we
to.
are so blessed,
Yeah.
and we realize it
Mhm.
a lot, and
And
we
we have a
tell each
lot of
other.
people tell us we're blessed to be friends for how long we have been and to be running the business together, a very successful business together.
Yeah. I
And
love it.
so a lot of people admire it and it's nice to hear.
Yeah.
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 I'm so happy to have met you and I'm so happy
Us too.
you
Great to
guys
have you.
spent time with us today. You're going to be super inspirational to so many people. And I think this is great. So go out and find someone, even if you don't enter into a partnership with someone, like even if you're not going to the level that you guys have, find your person.
Yes.
And whether that is someone in organizing, just find someone who can really
Right.
get it. Like I like to say, I could tell my husband at 100 stories a day and he would very kindly listen to me, but
Yep.
just need someone who just gets it without explaining it.
Exactly.
But even if you don't have a friend or a partner that wants to hear about your organizing, there and you, Melissa, the community you've created, it's there for that reason too. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, we just want people to feel less alone. And
Yeah. Yeah.
it really is important because one of my biggest goals in the work that I do is I want people to have sustainable businesses. I want people like you who are like, I started this 13 years ago. We have people in our group that have been organizing for 20 years. And as
Wow.
I say, 15 minutes or 15 years, like, and everything in between.
Right.
I want people to have sustainable businesses. And I think that only happens when you have a community. Even if you
Yeah.
work by yourself like I do, you need.
You do.
And you've built a big one.
Yeah.
And I think that's what has helped you. I don't think you work alone at all. I would not
No, I
describe
don't.
you
I don't.
as working
Yeah.
alone,
I don't
honestly.
work alone, like physically in my
Yeah.
office.
But you might need that to recharge. You're one of those people. We talk
Yeah,
about that.
I
Like,
am.
are you the
Yeah.
person that has to go home after a chaotic day at work?
Yeah.
We make our team break for lunch every job, every day
important.
for 30 minutes. And we all pack a lunch, and it's one of our policies. We're like, you have to come with a packed lunch if you want to work. And we sit and we just talk about whatever, but we very rarely talk about work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's almost like this kind of recharge. But a lot of us, the other day we were talking at lunch, are you the type of person that has to go home and just go in a quiet space and kind of
Recharge your social battery.
And all of us are like that work together.
You all are?
We are pretty much. I think every single one of us, because our job is so problem solving, multitasking. Like you said, we have to be 10 steps ahead of our client of what's going to happen next or how they're going to behave or how we can change the behavior and run the job and still meet our finish line. And our goal line is to wrap up this project. And I think we're just so exhausted by the end, not just physically, but just mentally. And it could just be all of our brains are wired the same way. And that's why as a collective, we all work well together, but we need to just be alone and have that space.
Yeah. I don't think we get it as much as them, but because there are times where we're done work, but we're not really done work.
We're not done.
For clients, we're writing invoices where sometimes there's a little scheduling. There's all that.
So,
being honest about that, though, I have found for a long time in my life, I don't think part of it is I don't think I realized it really about myself. And then you feel pressured to be different or whatever. And I think being honest about, I need space and time. When people were like, hey, does anybody want a roommate for a how-to summit? No, absolutely. I do not. And I love all of these people dearly, but no, I have to have a room by myself. Or my husband has something going on tonight. And I'm like, cool, I'm just going to stay home. And that is great. I think being really honest about how you recharge. And by the way, if it's a total opposite of me, go forth, enjoy.
Right.
Just be true to yourself. Because I think especially with entrepreneurship, if you don't have those recharge moments, you need that.
It is. Yeah.
Oh, it's so nice to know you guys. Like,
You too.
it's so nice to chat with you. You guys are.
We could chat all day.
Yeah. I bet it's really fun to work with you guys. So.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, it is fun.
We do have a good time.
We do.
We have some good laughs.
Work hard, play hard.
Yeah,
We do.
exactly.
And that's why we brought Nancy and we went to the summit 2 years ago, just the two of us. And we were like, one of our goals, Nancy and I set business goals every year. So we start them in January and we talk about our goals throughout the year and whether we meet them or not, but most times we do, and what worked and what didn't. And one of them was in 2020, our goal was 1 year, we're going to come back to the summit and we're going to have a team because we didn't have teams yet.
Yeah.
And we're going to pay for all of them to come and be a part of it. So here we are 2 years later, we brought our team, paid for it all, had them be a part of it. But I also think it is really great because Nancy and I want to be transparent in our business and we want them to know everything that we know and they can hear things differently than us, talk about it. We have nothing to hide from our team. And that's why we're a team. Right. And they learned so much, unbelievable what they learned. And I think that take away that transparency of it all. And that's why we say one day this could be yours.
It
we
could
tell
be
them,
you.
you guys can have this. So you better know what's going on. It's not just coming in and we're going to have you do a sock tour.
Yeah.
It's so much more to it.
Well, I have more and more people that are contacting me, some of them in my group and some of them not, saying, "Hey, I really want to sell my business. Tell me how, tell me whatever." And it's going to start to be, when we talk about that generational wealth transfer, it's
Yep.
also going to be like a generational business transfer. At some point, you might not want to do this anymore. And so
Right.
then you're like, you would like to have something from this thing that you have built.
Right.
And it's something that you have to think about, but it's also something that you have to cultivate. Because I have one person right
Yeah.
now, she just has no earthly clue where she's going to sell it. And because she hasn't really cultivated anyone or anything. And,
We've
you know,
had
we're,
Right.
somebody offer to buy our business.
Yeah.
oh, interesting.
And he's only purchases service industry. So he owns a window washing companies.
Oh,
So it's all he focuses on homes. And I think home organizing should be a service
Yes.
under the umbrella of business portfolio. It was really interesting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We were like, yeah, but we're not ready to sell. So
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You're
come
not
back
there
in
yet,
10
but
years.
I agree with that. I really do think that if we, I think about us as an industry, since we're all so individual, which is fine, but I just think there is something bigger that could happen. And I think it's starting to happen. More and more people know about organizing, more and more people are becoming organizers,
Mhm.
but it is going to is still a little bit of a shift that has to happen of people thinking that it's a service like house cleaning that a lot of
Right.
people are not willing to pay for. A lot.
Right.
Right.
I think it's the best self-care. I think
Yeah.
don't get
Totally.
your nails
Yeah.
done, your eyelashes and your eyebrows.
Right.
Have a professional organizer come in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Take
need
that
all those
one
other
for
things
money.
too.
I know, but you do,
Yeah.
but they don't realize just how valuable, you could
Yeah.
ship
Oh,
that
totally.
money and just taste it and test it and you'll be hooked.
Uh,
You'll be hooked.
100%.
Or just pause those things, save
Right.
your money.
For a
Yeah.
period of time. My favorite thing, again, this is just us chatting, it's not for the podcast. My favorite thing is when someone tries to tell me like, "Oh, wow, this service is just really expensive." And I'm like, "Well, all of the things in your house that you have purchased are actually the expensive things.
Yeah.
Like you have spent 20 times the amount of money you would be looking to spend with me, like just in your kitchen." So I really,
Yeah. Think about the women you meet, since we're not on the podcast.
no.
Think about women, whoever you meet, that are compulsive shoppers.
Yeah.
Meaning, oh, I have 3 pairs of these because you couldn't find the other pairs because, and
Yeah.
then like when you're in that job, oh my God, think about how much money I just spent.
So much money.
That's a whole nother conversation is when we start invoicing, we would invoice and our invoices were getting bigger because our projects were getting bigger. And we would be like,
We'd be like,
"What's
oh
your
God,
invoice? Oh
so
my God,
let's
are they gonna
prepare
pay?"
ourselves if they say something. Let's
Right.
prepare ourselves. And then I think we got to the point where we're like, yeah, nope, this is
So-
what it is.
Yeah.
Totally.
I've got no problem giving it to the client.
And they're
Here
like,
you
"You're
go.
worth every penny."
Yeah.
That's all.
Absolutely. As
Yeah.
you are.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell everyone if they want to learn more about you or just get in touch with you and just learn more about what you do? Where can we find you on the great wide interwebs?
Oh, you can find us at unclutteredspaces.com
Okay.
and on Instagram and Facebook.
For
Okay.
socials, there's an underscore, but for
Okay.
our website is just
Uncluttered Spaces.
www.unclutteredspaces.com.
All right. And I will link everything in the show notes. If you guys have
Thank
never
you.
seen show notes, they're right underneath the podcast. That you can just click through all of these things. I will put all of them right there. And are you coming? No pressure. Are you coming to the summit next year? Will I see you next year?
We're talking about
We're
it.
talking about it. We haven't
Yeah.
decided yet, but we're talking about it. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I will hope to see you at another point in my
We will.
universe. And if not,
Yes.
I'll see you on the internet. So
Okay.
Exactly.